Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today, finally, lots of you out there are going to be jumping up and down, throwing the little parties, blowing your own trumpet, because I've finally got an InWin case to do a video review on. Now, I have had InWin cases that we've reviewed and have been on the main website, but we're starting to build the pressure of the videos back up again because I've been a little slack. So the 909 is a big flagship case with a big flagship case price tag. Looking at £325, £330 in the UK, depending on where you get it from. I'm not sure how many more of your US dollars you'll be required to part with to be graced with this in your presence. But I've got a system built in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a good look around, chat about the performance, chat about the layout, chat about all the normal things that we would chat about. And then we're going to do some more chatting at the end in a rather meaty conclusion. Now, if you are expecting this to be a 3-minute overview like some other channels, then I'm really sorry. That's not the way I like to do things here. We have a good in-depth look. I don't script and I'm not going to try and sell it to you. I'm just going to tell you my thoughts. Some of them will be brain farts. But that's generally the way that we do it here, and the way I try to do things is I try and get as much information in as possible because in my eyes I'm trying to help you decide whether you need to be parting with all those pennies or not. So I'd rather give you too much information than not enough. Otherwise I might as well just kind of show you around, show you the points and then not do anything else with it. It'd almost be pointless me even putting a rig in it. But anyway, because we've waffled enough and I can already see people that are tuning off and going, oh God, he's not even done anything yet. Anyway, let's move on to the meaty part and the actual main part, which is me having a look. Normally, for us, this would be a strange place to start, but we normally start at the top and the front because that's where the power button and all your connections are. But they're in a different place on this case. So if we just scan up and down just quickly, you can see that we're at the bottom left-hand side of the case. This is InWin logo just here. This is actually probably the slickest power button I've ever seen. And it looks like it's just a part of the side, but lo and behold, that is a power button. We've actually not got it plugged in at the moment. Then we have just here is a USB Type-C, USB 3, USB 3, USB 3, headphone microphone. We have a power button here, which I will show you shortly what it does. There is a little strip of LED strip inside, but like I said, I will show you about that in a little moment. Now, I've already scanned you up the front of the case, but when we look from the other angle, you can see the brushed aluminium that the majority of the case is made out of. It is incredibly easy to mark and leave fingerprints on, so you'll always be cleaning it, but probably not as much as you would with the glass itself. But it is a lovely brushed alu and very plain. As you can see, there's no vents or anything in the top, there's no vents or anything in the front, and there are no, funny as, visible vents underneath either. But we will talk about what this is in a little minute. Round to the back side of the case, it's all kind of confusing because you do have the power supply in the bottom, but as you can see here, we have some vents which we've got our AIO mounted to, but you've got a large cutout here. Now again, when we start to take the sides off, this is all going to become, it will start to make a lot more sense, but you can take this whole back panel out. Actually, there's some screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can pop this whole thing out. Now again, when we crack on and we move on to the inside, it'll all start to make a little bit more sense. But I did need to try and find a way to get this in order, and I wanted to get this bit done first. So we're going to start with this side first, and we will move round to the back in a minute. But because of the way this case is laid out, it's meant for some open thinking compared to the way we would normally do things. Now this is taken off the side, which is tempered glass, and it's smoked. There are 4 thumb screws around the outside, which are quite easy to remove, and then the actual glass window then sits on like little foam inserts just up here, and here, doing my best trolley dolly. Now when we crack open the inside, you do get your first look. Now, I did say that it was a smoked panel, which you can see. It's a fair bit of weight to it as well. And there is another one on the other side, so you can see my hands through to the glass on the other side. Now, we do get our first look at the case and the main chambers, and I'm just going to rejig the camera ever so slightly. There we go. Right. So I did say to you about its slightly unconventional layout, although for the InWin aficionados out there, this will look fairly familiar. But you do have the main chamber of the case, and it does sit, the motherboard, right in the middle of the case rather than at the outside where we would normally be used to. You get this chamber at the back. This panel here is the one that I said we can remove. We do have an AIO in it at the moment. Now, if you were, you know, an AIO is probably not getting the most from this case at all. It's definitely a high-end case. There are little, there's a round fan mount at the side, and there are hose ports that you can put through, but you can also put hose up through here and through here as well. Now, there are lots of little bits and bobs on this case that I'm just going to have to talk you through. Otherwise, we're going to be moving the camera all over the place all of the time. So we've got the vents here. You can put a 120mm fan in here if you want. And then at the front, you can put 220mm or 240mm fans. In the bottom, you can put 220mm or 240mm fans as well. The case actually comes with no fans whatsoever out of the box. All of the fan mounts are removable really simply, and they're all the same. All four of these do exactly the same thing. And you have one screw, and then that is your fan mount, and it just literally clips in, and they're all exactly the same. There's no point me taking them all out for you. We've got the two in the front, and I've got two fans fitted in that. Now, there is also a dust filter in the bottom, as you can see, and that literally just sits in here. There we go, and that's your dust filter. Now, the reason why the dust filter is there is because this is the main intake point for all of your airflow. The fans are here, but there's a chamber here that connects to the front as well. So your air comes in this section and then can go up the front and in this way, or up through this way. So it is dust filtered as well. One thing I will say is that the dust filter, the airflow is open in this section as well. So it can kind of circulate all of the way through. You've got, while we're up at the top, you've got four 3.5-inch hard drive bays, which are simple slidey bays, and you can fit solid state drives in those as well, should you wish. Don't forget, I did say to you that we use the big yellow tape measure. There is a section here that you've got that you can get up in, so if that's for hosing or anything like that, you've got that. And then you've also got another section that's cut out here, so you can see that you do have areas there, and I'll try to overlay some pictures so you can see what I'm on about. Then you have your power supply in the bottom, and where the power supply is, you have to have it with the fan grill at the top. And then there's a big cutout chunky vent there. Look, you can see the cables that we've got in the bottom, and that's where the open section is for that. There isn't a cover or anything for this, which I found kind of surprising, but reason for that being is that this is the airflow path to be able to cool your power supply. We were talking before about the 120mm fan mount in the back, and you can see it here. We've got a better angle for you now. It's just a circle cut out, and then you've got the little bit cut out at the top so that you can put your hose through. As you can see, it's just nice and plain and open. You can see that we've got the AIO in the back. Now, we've done this. Yes, this case is probably better suited to a full water cooling loop, but because this is just a review case and review build, and we do have to build every one of these every time that we do them, we can't be putting full water cooling and everything, so I just didn't have time, so I apologise for that. We have a 280mm radiator in here now. It's the Corsair H110i GT, but you can get a 360mm radiator in there as well. Now, you have a total amount of space of 150mm. Now, you do have to factor in your fans. Your fan's going to be 25mm thick, So if you had a 360mm radiator in this with a 60mm thick radiator plus your 25mm thick fan, you would be looking at 85mm in total. And don't forget, you still do need for it to be able to breathe. The only way for the air to get through to this chamber is either through this section here, or to make its way through the top section and along the top area like that. So you do have to keep that in mind. Most of the things I've seen in the other InWin cases around these, people do tend to use a 30mm or 45mm thick radiator, I should say. So that you don't sandwich everything up against this, because obviously you do still need it to breathe quite well. Back in the main chamber, just to give you a look, you can see that we have some, we're going to call them holes for the moment. We've got a hole there to pass through, you've got one there, you've got some down the sides. The main one really to point out to you though is up here, and you have a pass through for your 8-pin CPU right at the very top, and there's a chunk cut out through. And it does go through into the top section. You can see my finger there, but you get a good access down into the back section of the motherboard as well. So there's lots of open areas in this main chamber. You've obviously got the bit through to the power supply, because that's what feeds the power supply, and then you have the cutouts around the outside. We're going to leave them as cutouts, because when we get round to the back section, which I'm going to show you now, I'll be able to explain to you what they are with a little more depth. One thing I can say about this is there are, when you do build it, there are a lot of mounts for larger motherboards. We've obviously got a normal ATX spec in here, but there's more mounts, so you could get the, for argument's sake, the longer, much wider dual CPU boards in here as well, should you wish. You may run into like some cabling issues, which I'll show you in a moment, but the options are there. And I don't want to talk to you too much about what the cutouts are until we get round to the other side, so I probably should just do it. Now we come round to this rear section, we'll call it the back side of the case. We'll start at the top and we'll work our way down. You can see at the top that there are 4 cutouts here, and that's so that you can have your SATA power cables going in, and your SATA data cables for the hard drive sections that I showed you at the top. Don't forget, you can use those for 3.5 inch or for 2.5 inch. Those hard drive cages are riveted in as well, so there's no screws, so if you did want to remove them, you need to get your drill out. There are, throughout this section, no places to clamp your cables down. InWin sends you little stick-on clamps so that you can put them where you want and where you need them. The problem is the tabs do pull out really easily when you've got fairly meaty cables in there. We've got one up on the top here, and I literally used it just to clamp down the fan cables, because I used a Molex to 4 fan cable splitter just so that I could get the cable, so I could get the fans running easier. So you do have to consider your cabling with this quite carefully. Even with this kind of basic setup, because of the 24-pin cable here, I did have to tip the case on its side to be able to get it in. Now they do send with it, which I was kind of concerned about, extension cables. Now we've got the RM1000i in here, and the 24-pin cable was more than long enough. But they do send some rather 2005 looking extension cables with it, and I would say that, guys, they are just normal extension cables as well, and I would genuinely say that if they should come with at least braided cables. I know that's going to add to the cost, but then it is quite expensive already. You can get hold of really good braided extensions very simply now. Maybe this is just something to stick in your man drawer and literally just forget about until you've got an emergency. I would have thought most of your power supplies, most of your setup's going to be fine with this type of case. One thing I would say though is you've seen on the inside of the case the orientation and everything like that. Now we do have here, this is the front panel header, so you can turn the power supply, turn the rig on, off, your hard drive LEDs and stuff like that. So we've got this cable here. That was obviously quite long, and for our motherboard, whether our motherboard is set up, it only really needs to go here. So if we took the cable, it's really, even if we were really careful with it and were to tidy it up, it's probably about twice too long as it should be. HD audio, sometimes they're further up on the motherboard in a really gay spot, but generally they're just here. So this cable is also really long as well. I'd actually go as far as to say this is far too long for what it actually needs to be. So you can see the length of those two, they're absolutely enormous. I'd say this is probably 50 centimeters long, and that's once it comes out of here, and it pretty much only needs to go here on most boards. If you've got a sound card, sometimes it needs to come up a little further, but I think 50 centimeters is a little excessive. One good point to say about the case is it does come with two USB 3 internal headers. A lot of motherboards now are coming with those. It did come with a USB 2 internal to USB 3 external female cable with it. I'm literally just trying to find it just off the camera. Now there we go. It does come with the cable in case you've not got two USB 3, so you can plumb one in and just have a slower data. Now, right, I was talking to you previously about these cutouts around here. Now these are solid state drive mounts, and there are 4 of them down the side. There's also another 2 there, but if you have a look, there aren't any, what I would say, well, this is your only full-on cable routing hole here. There's no official cable routing holes at all, so you've just got these 2.5-inch drives. Now for me, it does my OCD in a little bit, because when it comes to looking down the side of the motherboard, because of the clear window or the smoked window, you can see through this, and you can see that this is kind of an afterthought. Now we've got two solid state drive mounts here. You could easily get another 2 over here if you want, and you wouldn't really see them. I don't really, this doesn't sit well with me with the way this cable routing is. It was very similar on the 805 as well. Say for argument's sake you buy it because you could fill all these solid state drives up. If you did fill all these solid state drive mounts up, you've only got this one area here to put all of your cables through. I personally think that we need some proper cable grommets put in the side, and if you really have to have these mounts, I don't think I particularly want to see them too much. I think the point in having, I know you've got a glass panel on the back side of your case, so you might want to show your solid state drives off. But I think to the other point that you need to consider is not everyone's going to want to use these, so we don't want these big gaping holes through. The fact that they don't even all match and you've just got that one yomped in the side is terrible, I think. Also, the other thing is when it comes to, I'm just going to unclip one of the fan cables. When it comes to the fan cables, the fans are pretty much right at the very front, and you've got these holes here, and they're not even big enough to poke a fan cable through. So when you do mount your fans, they have to go through one of these holes, and it pulls it in, so it's actually quite visible. And this is another thing I'm not 100% happy with. If this was my case and I was doing something with it, I would end up covering this whole area from the other side, having a bit of acrylic in there or even some alley, and then painting over it and making my own cable routing holes. This just feels a little bit like they've seen all this space and they've just kind of like just chucked stuff on to kind of fill the gaps rather than actually putting some thought and some design in. Now the external looks and the whole water cooler and the glass feels very premium, but this aspect of the case feels very novice, and I think it's a part of their engineering team. They need to get some of the right people to go and advise them to help get this kind of area of the case cleaned up so that this doesn't let the case down, because at the present moment in time I personally think it does. One thing that you do have is an enormous cutout here to be able to put all your fans through. I mean, that is literally like, it's huge. Now obviously if you've got lights and stuff in there and your fans, it's going to be nice that you're going to be able to see it from both sides. It's stuff that you're going to have to work on to be able to make the most of all of these gaps. The other thing to really talk about down here is this is the area where most of your power supply cables are going to end up coming out and then getting put round. At least that's the way I would do it. Bring them up the back of the case like you would with a normal case, and then poke them through rather than having them all visible on the other side of the case. But obviously those, that's all up to you to configure as you should wish. The other thing that we do need to say is down in the bottom section here, the vent that I showed you on the other side goes right the way through. I think this is absolutely screaming out for some lights in here, so it kind of like you've got like a, yeah, you get what I mean. So there's that. There's the back of the case. Okay then, moving on to the conclusion, and this is going to take some time. So get comfortable. If you don't like me rabbling and trying to explain things to you, then you probably best switch off now. But anyway, so there is a lot to kind of get across with this because it's a complex case for me to try and explain to you. But I also need to kind of give you a little insight into the way we do awards and all that type of thing as well. Now with the price, 300 and so we'll say 330 quid. That's an expensive case. No matter which way you put it, that's putting it right up there, up at the top of the pack. So for the most part, that's going to put it out of the reach of the average buyer as well. Considering some of the cases that you can get for around the £100 mark now, even £150 to £200 is expensive. If you then add all that extra money on to get up to that £330 price point, this is ridiculously expensive. Now, so it's ridiculously expensive. So then, if the case was absolutely perfect, I've then got to think, do I want to give it a gold award? And if it's not quite perfect, there's a few little things to pick around at it. If it was a graphics card, for example, we could give it a performance award, and we would say it's a, you know, a great product, really expensive, but not quite worth a gold. And then you've also got the other side of a performance award as well, and that it's ridiculously expensive. It's almost a no money, no object kind of idea, and it's just, for argument's sake, like when you have £1,000 graphics card, if it's only like a tiny little bit quicker than the £600 graphics card, but nevertheless it is still quicker, then you think to yourself, well, you know, it's a premium product, might be a bit niche. But with this, I'm a little bit perplexed, because for that money, the water cooling options for a 360mm radiator in the back are relatively limited. You can get a 360mm radiator in, sure, but there's no option of getting a 460 or anything in like that. You can get a 240 or a 280 in the front, albeit only a thin one. There's no mounts in this top section for you to get another radiator in on the sneak to go up, because this is a solid panel. The hard drive mounts in the top are fixed, you can't remove them. It's a proper Dremel moment. You haven't got any little screws that you could whiz out. And to be fair, in that top section, you could have had some extra exhaust fans to have been able to have got it all out as well. I think that would have been a really simple thing for them to have had a 240mm mount or a 280mm mount in the roof, and these could have even been mounted to that. So we've got those kind of little bugbears. Biggest bugbear for me personally is the mounts down the side, because they're hard drive mounts out in the open, and the holes are then just used for poking your cables through. It was the same thing about the InWin 805. I did have an InWin 805. I was going to do a review on the 805, but I was actually quite negative about the 805, so we never made a video. The reason why we never made a video is because when I say stuff I don't particularly like stuff, it creates 10 times more work. It gets horrific. Now this, for the price, and that, I think literally brings the quality of the case down for me. It doesn't matter how expensive the glass is that you put it on the side, the fact that it's made out of aluminium, it could be made out of gold. It's spoilt by those bits at the side just being open. Now, if you're one of those guys like me that likes to have all your cables are nice and tidy and stuff, it becomes more than that. So if your grommets are wrong and, you know, kind of all over the place, which I feel these are, then it tarnishes that. Don't worry, I'm going to balance out all of this stuff again in a minute. I'm just trying to get the bashing out the way, and then we'll discuss it a little bit more afterwards. So that for me, I think that is this new version of InWin in its infancy. And I genuinely do think they do just need to change it a little bit. It's literally just a stamp. To be honest with you, I think they should just get rid of them altogether and just have a couple of cable routing options to go through there. Bang some grommets in, bosh, forget about it. Leave it nice and simple. There's plenty of other places that we can put hard drives. If you're that worried about hard drives, you could make some lovely little mounts in the bottom that would sit on the fans or something, or get screwed into these mounts and sit our solid state drives up at a little angle so that they were down in here. I've just realised I forgot to show you the lights. Right, ta-da! So I've plugged it in now. When you first turn it on, you'll see it does like a little Knight Rider light, and then it will come on, and it will just stay on after that point. You can press the button once, and then it then throbs. It goes up and down really slowly, so it's like a breathe. And if you press it again, it goes off. Press it once more, does the Knight Rider light again, and then it comes on. So that's your options. Right, so apologies for forgetting about that earlier. So you could have, as I was saying before, you could have some really nice mounts of solid state drives in the bottom, and I don't think that would be too hard for someone to engineer either. It just needs to be 4 little feet, standard solid state drives up, lovely. So I think that would be a really good way to solve that area if you're worried about solid state drives and stuff anyway. But, right, so then moving on to make some good things. This case really is, I mean, the other InWin cases that have come out, people have flooded to buy them. They're having no trouble selling these things whatsoever. So I do think this is a progression in a design, because this isn't a brand new design. They've changed the cooling a little bit better to make the airflow better, and it is significantly better than it was before. The original ones were a little bit starved. So they are moving slowly forward. That definitely is an area that it seems to be that people aren't picking up on. Maybe I'm the most horrifically picky person in the world, but putting my cables through a solid state drive mount, for me, that is then, you know, it's not all even and stuff like that. It just makes my teeth itch. If I'm the only one and that doesn't apply to you, then just ignore that section of rant. But I do see this as being like an enthusiast level case. You don't buy this case because it's literally perfect out the box. You buy it because it's a project case. It's that expensive anyway that the people that just buy something and chuck parts into it generally aren't going to be getting this anyway. So it's going to be a case for people that are going to buy it and spend time on it. I personally, I would make a blank for that whole back section. Wherever my motherboard's not there on that back section, I would close in, and then I would make custom mounts. And let's face it, with braided cables nowadays, individually braided cables, you can have 24 5mm holes, and you can have all of your cables, 4mm holes. You can have all of your cables coming through individually if you wanted. There's loads of options that you can go through around the sides and cover all those holes up. And for me, if I was going to buy that case, I would have done enough research to know all that stuff was coming, and I would be willing to do it. Also, it's properly funky when it gets on your desk. The thing is that even though I've brought all these things up and I'm saying to you, you know, this is this, this is this, this is this, and it sounds like I'm having a rant on it. I'm not ranting. I'm trying to give you guys all the information that you need, so that I'm not just going, oh yeah, it's amazing, go and buy it, and not telling you about all the little niggly things that you might want to address when you get it. Because let's face it, if you're here already and you're looking at this, there's half a chance that you're there with your credit card in your hand anyway. So I'm not trying to talk you out of it, just trying to give you a lot of information. Same with the water cooling. I mean, I made it sound bad, but if you had a 240 in the front, even a slim one, you had a 45 or a 60mm in the back, that's loads of cooling. Absolutely loads of cooling. You could get a full SLI system and a full motherboard and CPU cooled on that without any problems really. Even with the limited airflow that was on this, it really wouldn't be too big of an issue. You may want to have the fans a little bit more turned up than you may want to have with a generic case, but with this, it really becomes about the looks. So as far as the award's concerned, I have to say, I don't know which way to swing, because for me, this makes me want to create something along the lines of a money no object award or a enthusiast grade award, because it's not perfect. But if you are seriously like, I think I'm going to get the 909, doesn't matter what I say in this video, short of it's made of uranium or like lead or something, you're not going to, it's not going to matter. most of you out there are going to be looking at this now, and you've already thought to yourself, I could have the radiator there, and I think I could put the reservoir up there, and I think I could do that, and that would look amazing white, and that needs some lights. Because to be honest with you guys, when I was building it, that's what I was doing. And it's a shame with stuff like this that, you know, if I had another 2 or 3 days, because to do something properly like that, you do spend a lot of time. Like you would do like a first fit, and then you work out what lights you're going to need and stuff. And then I have to go and get them or go and pull them out of other rigs that have been built. But I could have spent a lot more time making this look pretty. And I probably would have if it was an easier thing for me to swap Orca out, but it's not. But anyway, so the award, with the OC3D award, the way it's staged at the moment, I'd normally go performance award. But it's kind of difficult to give it a performance award when things like the airflow are a little bit more reduced than a normal case. So it then needs to become something like the aesthetics award, and like I said, we need to create other ones. So for this, I think the way I'm going to swing with it, and it's been a long way to get to it, is I'm going to give it the innovation award, because the glass is lovely and they are trying to do something different, but with the innovation award is great, but it does need work in some other areas, like around the motherboard tray and stuff like that. So innovation award, I've absolutely bombarded you with all the other information, and don't forget what I said. I'm not bashing it. I'm not saying, you know, overly negative stuff. I'm just trying to bring all these details to the forefront so that then when you get it, you've got those things to consider. I personally think with a nice cover over this, a cover around the motherboard, some well-chosen fans, and get your water cooler in there, I think you're going to love it. The glass in itself is lush. You're going to have fingerprints on it all the time, and I've just remembered, because I didn't tell you before, that they do send you a microfiber cloth to clean the glass with. You will be cleaning that a lot. Absolutely no word of a lie, you will be cleaning it a lot. When I use, because I have used the 805, we had it at EGX this year, we were taking the side off every day to clean the dust down on it. So get into the habit of cleaning your room. Hoover, boys, don't wait for your mum to do it. Get the Hoover out and it'll actually help keep your PC cleaner. Obviously you've got the dust filters on this, but that's not a foolproof way. It'll help, but it's not foolproof. Anyway, I know I'm starting to rant now. To be honest with you, this is a difficult case to review, because there's so many, like, oh, you can put stuff through here, you can put stuff through there, you can put stuff through there, and this can be used for this, and this can be used for that, and it is actually very difficult to try and do. So if you're a bit confused, go back, pause, have a look, try and think about what I'm saying. Hopefully I've kind of put it together in a way that you can actually understand and it makes sense. But I'm looking for my remote now. So I personally, like I said, I really like it. I really like it because I instantly want to do stuff to make it better. For me, as an enthusiast, that's what I look for in a case. I don't just want things to be just absolutely perfect out the box. I want to put my own little stamp on it. And if that's the type of thing that you're looking for, if you're looking for something to do in the evening so you don't have to listen to your wife moaning or the kids crying, and you've got some spare time at weekends, you're looking for something to get your teeth into, then I think this could be the thing that you put your mark on, because that's what this is about. That's the way I see it anyway. It's not perfect. You have to make it perfect. They do rape your wallet for the privilege of it, but I think in the long run there is a lot that could be done with this case. So if you want something that's not generic, that you can put your own mark on, make perfect, paint, cut, add bits, put stuff other places, all that type of thing, I think this could quite possibly be the type of thing that you're looking for. So I'm going to leave that with you. Please leave your comments underneath. I would love to hear back from you, to hear about what you think about the case as well. Please remember that InWin will be looking at all your comments as well. So, don't go just getting your keyboard warrior stuff out. Put a little bit of thought in, switch the brain on, engage, and then put something decent underneath, because you never know, that might actually make them make a change in the 910 if there was going to be one, or the 919. I'm going to put my bets on the next one's going to be the 919. But anyway, this has been me literally going absolutely bonkers mental trying to work out how to do this review with the best. I think I'm just a little bit rusty. I need to get back into it. But anyway, this has been Tiny Tom Logan going absolutely mental with another video for you. Out.